For years, tensions between the United States, Israel, and Iran had steadily intensified through political confrontation, sanctions, cyber incidents, and proxy conflicts across the Middle East. While direct war was often discussed, diplomacy and deterrence prevented open confrontation, until now. The crisis began when coordinated military operations conducted by the United States and Israel targeted strategic locations inside Iran. Officials described these strikes as precision actions aimed at military infrastructure and security threats. Explosions reported across multiple sites signaled an immediate escalation that captured global attention. Within hours, governments worldwide issued statements calling for restraint. Airlines adjusted flight paths, energy markets reacted sharply, and international observers warned that the situation could rapidly spiral into a wider conflict. Military analysts believe the operation involved months of intelligence preparation, surveillance systems, satellite monitoring, and coordinated planning between Washington and Tel Aviv allowed forces to strike multiple targets within a narrow time frame. The strikes reportedly focused on command centers, military facilities, and infrastructure believed to support Iran's strategic capabilities. Officials emphasized deterrence, aiming to weaken operational capacity while sending a message of military resolve. Unlike previous covert actions, this operation represented a visible and direct use of force. The long-running shadow conflict had now moved into open confrontation. Iran condemned the strikes as acts of aggression and announced that retaliation was inevitable. Military units were mobilized, missile systems activated, and regional allies placed on alert. Soon afterward, radar systems detected incoming missiles and drones targeting U.S. military bases across the region. Air defense systems intercepted many projectiles, lighting the night sky with defensive explosions. Bases entered emergency lockdown procedures while commanders assessed damage and reinforced defenses. The exchange marked one of the most direct confrontations between the two sides in recent history. Israel increased national security readiness, activating missile defense networks and mobilizing reserve forces amid fears of multi-front escalation. Several Middle Eastern nations heightened military readiness, restricted airspace, and strengthened border security as uncertainty spread throughout the region. Experts warned that additional actors entering the conflict could transform the limited exchange into a broader regional war. Oil prices surged as traders feared disruptions to critical shipping routes. Energy importing nations began reviewing emergency reserves amid concerns over supply stability. Stock markets fluctuated worldwide as investors responded to uncertainty. Safe haven assets gained attention while global trade forecasts faced renewed risk. Rising fuel costs threatened transportation prices and food supply chains, demonstrating how regional conflict quickly affects global daily life. International organizations called for immediate de-escalation, emphasizing dialogue over continued military action. Diplomatic intermediaries reportedly opened communication lines to prevent misunderstandings and accidental escalation, a critical step during high-risk crises. Both sides faced pressure to demonstrate strength while avoiding steps that could trigger uncontrollable conflict. Governments released competing statements defending their actions while social media spread real-time footage and speculation worldwide. Experts warned of potential cyber attacks targeting financial systems, infrastructure, and communications networks, highlighting how modern wars extend beyond physical battlefields. Travel disruptions, economic uncertainty, and security fears affected civilians both inside and outside the region. Aid organizations warned that prolonged conflict could lead to displacement, refugee crisis, and increased demand for international assistance. Major powers monitored the situation carefully, balancing strategic interest with calls for stability. Countries worldwide began reassessing defense policies, military preparedness, and regional partnerships in response to the crisis. Military historians often note that wars escalate not because leaders seek total conflict, but because each side feels compelled to respond. After retaliation comes counter-retaliation, narrowing diplomatic options. Decision makers now faced immense pressure, response forcefully and risk escalation, so restraint and risk appearing weak. US forces increased readiness levels across multiple bases. Naval assets repositioned to protect shipping routes, while aerial patrols intensified. Israel reinforced air defenses and prepared for potential attacks from multiple directions. Neighboring countries quietly strengthened border security, fearing spillover violence. Analysts warned that allied militias and regional armed groups could reopen additional fronts, even without direct orders. Such developments could transform the limited exchange into a multi-theater conflict stretching across several countries. The confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran represents more than a regional conflict. It highlights how fragile global stability can become when geopolitical tensions erupt into direct military action. Whether the crisis evolves into prolonged war or returns to diplomacy depends on decisions made in the coming days. History shows that escalation can move faster than diplomacy, but restraint can still change outcomes. As tensions remain high, the international community faces a defining question. Will this conflict remain contained, or will it reshape global order for years to come?